The Baltimore meeting of the U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops is going to be a pivotal point, I think.
I'd like to see the bishops, when they meet, they have to do something they've been hesitant to do, to make themselves accountable and to acknowledge their mistakes. And the abuse issue has involved two things: abuse of priests and bishops not knowing how to handle that. It's done a lot of harm, a lot of discouragement, a huge amount of anger and skepticism about who we are and what we stand for. And I think they have to do a lot of work before they can restore their credibility as a religious force in the United States.
I was disappointed, frankly, in the public misconceptions about the Pennsylvania grand jury report. What it gave us, frankly, was a long list of dead and defrocked priests. At least 44% of every priest on that list had been deceased. And the rest of them were out of ministry if they had a substantiated allegation. If there was an allegation that was substantiated, they were not in ministry. There was a handful that had unsubstantiated allegations, which subsequently may or may not be true. But the church is being faithful to the Dallas Charter. One strike and you're out. Zero tolerance and you're out. The Pennsylvania grand jury report showed us, in reality, that the Dallas Charter is working.
Sexual abuse of children.
We changed our approach in 2002, and it's working. Look at the CARA statistics from Georgetown. The number of allegations has plummeted in the last 2 decades. The Dallas Charter really is the most effective and extensive child protection program in the world. It includes mandatory reporting of cases, zero tolerance, one strike and you're out permanently, a mandatory child-safe education for anyone who works with minors, background checks, again, for anyone who works with minors, victims assistance coordinators, shepherding victims through the process of reporting, also includes diocesan review boards, plus we have annual audits of dioceses to make sure they're doing it right. So it's a very comprehensive program. We want to stop abuse before it occurs. Sure, we want to deal with allegations well, but does prevention work? And the answer is yes. 6 million Americans have been trained by the Catholic Church in child protection. 4 million children, 2 million adults. If you work with a child in the Catholic Church in this country, you will go through that safe environment training, and it works. Abuse rates are plummeting.
So I think any of these kinds of charters can be improved upon, particularly with the passage of time and with what we've learned really works, and what are some areas that need to be strengthened.
Well, I think the big lacuna, if you will, and it was not in the Dallas Charter, was the accountability of bishops. And it wasn't in the Dallas Charter because the bishops have no authority to discipline each other. And so that's really the big issue today. How are bishops held accountable? And they'll begin to discuss that issue then.
And that's what I think lay Catholics in the United States are looking for, is first the Church to acknowledge the problem, the extent of the problem, and the complicity of individuals that were involved in this, and perhaps even the way in which certain cultural practices among the bishops may have allowed this stuff to exist and not be caught earlier.
I think they want to see bishops in a listening mode.
Listening to victims. We passed that Dallas Charter, the bishops passed the Dallas Charter in 2002. Right before they voted on it, 4 victims spoke to all 300 bishops and told their story. And when you hear the pain of victims, that's what changes people's hearts. So I would love to see, yes, prayer and retreat, wonderful. But let's also continue listening to the stories and the pain of our victims. That changes hearts, and I think it's important.
I also think people are hoping that the bishops spend more time in their dioceses being shepherds and not CEOs.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.